Yian, sitting on her father's embrace, told the carbs to eat a lot. She seemed to enjoy spending times with her father. After moving to his residence, she is now living a life where her feet does not touch the ground. She felt awkward. To be protected every day by her dependable father. It's something she would have never dreamed of in her previous life. "What is the matter?" he asked, noticing her hugging him tightly. "Are you cold?" She replied, "No." She is just happy. Stone-face, her father does not know how to take in the happiness expression of his daughter. Yian looked like she wanted to tease him. In her first life, she would have been scared seeing that expression. But now, she knew what it meant. Her father is the type who tenses up when feeling shy. She giggled happily to herself while the stone-faced father blushed. While strolling, they overheard someone shouted, "Why are you all getting knocked out already? Is this all the powerful Bekri family amounts to?" Next, somebody stepped forward, demanded the voice. Yian and her father walked towards the source of the shouting to see what's all the commotion. "There is quite a fuss in the training hall," said Yian's father. They can hear more fussing as they approached the training hall. "What's this? Why isn't anyone stepping forwards?" "No one?" Yian seemed to recognize the voice. Could it be? Down the training hall, two boys who have a striking resemblance, taunting people. One boy said conceitedly, "You cowards," while the other pointed his finger. "You. And you." Yian noticed they are the twins, Bekri Pyo and Soak. A boy pointed his finger at him, and the next boy next to him and asked if the twins were referring to him, while the boy next to him looked nervous. Yian gasped, "Why are they appearing now?" Bekri Yiran's twin sons, as well as her cousins, Soak and Bekri Pyo. The reason they have different surnames is because of the promise Bekri Yiran and her husband made when they got married. A flashback of her aunt in red wedding dress. It said when her husband them have children, let's have one of the children take the husband's surname, and the other will take her surname to be raised as a child of the Bekri family. She thought this is a golden opportunity to position their children as successors to the two families. Yian thought, was it because of that promises that Yiran gave birth to twins and nicely split them into the two families' registers? She looked nervously at the twins, and her father also noticed her anxiousness. One twin said, "Don't go easy on them," while the other demanded for the other boys to bring it on. Yun thought that it makes it much stranger, and why are the twins appearing now, when they should be at their other family's home? She watched one twin lunge towards his opponent. The opponent looked nervous about the attack coming from the twin. The twin laughed at the opening presented to him. Yian and his father watched the fight, which came to a quick end, with the twin boy winning. I lost." The opponent boy acknowledged his loss. "Wow, 3 cheers for the young master," praised by the audience. Yian asked her father what he thought of their skills. Her father sighed and answered, "Their technique is good, but they lack a stable foundation. Their cores are unstable. There won't be anything to gain from such a spar, but..." It occurred to them that she knew them. He asked how did she know those children were her cousins. She has never met Pyo and Ok before, right? Oops. Her cover was almost blown. She reasoned that well, who else her age could ask the powerful Bekri family's disciples for a spar? Moreover, seeing as there were 2 children who looked the same, she knew they were the twins, brother Bekri Pyo and brother Soak. He nodded and said she is quite observant. She is correct. They're her twin cousins. His sister brought them from their father's home a few days ago. She thought, phew, that white lies worked out well. She asked, are they supposed to have been brought back from the So family? Her father does not know. One of the cocky twins asked why the disciples are so boring. Seems like no one can beat his twin brother. The other twin brother answered conceitedly, he knows. How boring it. Yian thought, she was tormented so much by these 2 in her previous life, she'll have to be careful not to bump into them. It felt like the wound from getting hit by them from her last life still hurts. She frowned at the thought. Since that day, she decided to cut back on her walks. What is that? Asked Yian's father. Ugh. Yian thought of the twins she was staying in to avoid running into them. She showed her work to her father and replied, it's embroidery. She was bored, so she has been practicing it. I see. Is it a cloud? He asked. It's a pear blossom, she replied. They both shared an awkward moment. Her father cleared his throat and said, since she is bored, then, what about learning how to write? Wow, he changed the subject, she thought. Her father said the teacher will be him. He will teach? Yin asked. He will? Of course. Why didn't he think of this earlier? Her father exclaimed excitingly. He asked how much have she learned so far? Shocked, she couldn't answer. There is no way she remembers the characters she learned 10 years ago. Huh? Oh. I wasn't able to meet the writing teacher a few times, so. She answered nervously and a little shameful. Still, her father wasn't upset. Still with the same excited smile, he replied, It's all right. She can just learn from the beginning again. He patted her small head and told her, There are plenty of time. She had a set of writing brushes and ink. Her father asked her to write the words she remembers. She complained, Ugh, it's hard. He gently encouraged that it's like that at first. Yin seemed to be concentrating really hard, which her father found really funny. He held in his laughs and told himself repeatedly to not laugh. She can sense his emotions from behind her, and though, Father, you can just laugh. She thought, what should she write? Still covering his mouth, her father sneak peeked at what she had so far, and to his surprise, he asked, Isn't that my name? Yin exclaimed excitingly, Yes, that's right, and silently praised him. Wow, good job, Father. How was he able to read this? Father's love for her is. Before she could complete her thought, she saw tears streaming down his face. He said, despite not being able to be by her side, she still remembered the name of this father of hers first. He felt so touched. Stunned, she thought, he's crying? Wait, Father, were you always this emotional? Yin felt flustered. What should she do? She hasn't comforted him in both her lives. With her small hand, she patted his head and asked, Father, why you are tearing up with just this? I'll write it many, many times for you. And I'll write better things too, all right? She comforted him. Accepted her comfort, he pulled her into his arms. She reciprocated with a big hug. Then her father told her she must not stand on a chair. He lifted her from the chair to the ground as it's less dangerous being on the ground. Yes, she agreed. She is not sure if he was overprotective or he is just too upright. A servant asked, Third young master, are you there? Yin and her father turned to the servant. The servant said, The patriarch has asked for him to join the patriarch for supper at the protection hall. Patriarch also requested that the young miss also be in attendance. The other children, too, seeing the condition of the third young master, she realized she may have overstepped. She didn't mean that. So, Yin's father asked the servant to look at him. Is something the matter? Flustered, the servant apologizes that she just lost her bearings for a moment, while the servant screamed inwardly. He cried? In no way, did he? He cried? Did the third young master cry? The third young master? The third young master? Yin's face twitched. She thinks she can tell what the servant was thinking. She, too, understand. Yes, that she does. But why did grandfather invited her too? She wondered. In the dining hall, first few people there were Yiren and her twin sons, Pyo and Ak. Next was Yikong and Yin. Yin thought, it felt so awkward. Then, grandfather's right-hand man came to ask for third young master's time. If he can step out for a second. Third young master said, his father will arrive soon. The right-hand man said, it'll only take a moment. Yiren bit her lips in annoying. All right. Third young master stood up while observing his sister. She crossed her arm and ignored third young master. Yin, her father called. He told her not to go anywhere and sit there patiently. If anything happens, make sure to tell him. The aunt snickered. Ha. Yin smiled and told him to not worry about her. Go do what he must. She waved for her father to go and already felt the dark energy behind her. Once her father was out of sight, the twin approached behind her, with ulterior motives hidden behind their eyes. Yin tried to ignore the source of energy emitting behind her. One of the twins said, Hey, I heard you are a piece of trash? That you're unable to do martial arts because your dantian shattered? The other circled the other's side and asked, simultaneously, Is that true? After Yin's regression, the place she met Soak and Baek Ripyo for the first time changed. And yet, the first words those two said, haven't. Who said that? Yin asked. One of the twin answered. Well, Mom said. Before he finished, the other twin punched him from behind to stop him. He realized he almost got tricked by her. The twin that threw the punch asked Yun, What will she do if she knows? Well, Yian was thinking of how to answer when the same twin asked, "It's true, isn't it, that you were trash?" Yian answered, so she can tell her father. Her answer stunned the twins, while her aunt folded her fan and slammed her hand on the table. She pointed the folding fan at Yian and shouted, "You're really showing the vulgarness you learned growing up on the streets." Pretended to look stupid but very innocent, she asked, "Pardon?" But her father told her to tell him everything, and scowled loudly. Just how long does Yian think her father will just sit at home? "I don't know," Yian replied. She smiled innocently, like a child who does not know anything, and said, she will have to ask her father that question. How long he will just sit at home? Running the aunt around in circle with the word game, a vein on her face popped out. She roared, "You're quite arrogant relying on your father." Yiran. Someone shouted the aunt's name. "What exactly are you raising your voice so loudly that it can be heard outside?" Entering was Baekri Yiran's older brother, Baekri Iimuk, his son, Baekri Myung. Yiran and her twins eagerly greeted the brothers. She asked why her brother is so late. The eldest uncle reprimanded Yian, just who would talk back to their aunt like that. She knew it. He would rebuke her the second he got here. Myung told his father to not be so hard on Yian, that she is still young. Her cousin greeted her, that it is his first time seeing Yun since that day. Has she been doing well? To keep the peace, she answered honestly back, yes. Myung said he thinks it's her first time meeting. Despite living in the same house, the two have yet to greet each other. He introduced his younger sister, Baekri Riri. He told his sister, over there is the cousin, Baekri Yian, who is of the same age. His sister hid behind him, blatantly ignoring Yian. Myung laughed and excused that his sister, Riri, is normally very shy towards strangers. The twins raced towards Riri to entertain her. Yian sat on the chair, watching a happy sibling, smiling happily with each other, like a big family. Alone by herself, she thought to herself, when will her father come back? There are a variety of delicacy in the patriarch's dining hall. Yian and her father sat on one side of the table, while the rest sat on the other side, as if no one wants to be associated with her and her father. The patriarch sat on the end of the table. Yian drools, seeing the different types of food. She thought, everything looks so good. Her father kept piling food on her plate, telling her to eat them all, since it also looks good too. She enjoyed everything her father put on her plate. Yiran and Iimuk looked at the father-daughter pair and thought, who does not seem like they acknowledge the people sitting on the table. The patriarch asked Iimuk how are Myung's writing classes going. Being distracted by the daughter-father pair and wasn't paying attention, he couldn't hear the question and asked, "Pardon?" The patriarch asked, how are Myung's writing classes going? He answered, since the teacher from Chunghyun Academy retired, he has been requesting for the writing teacher to go to their home to teach his son. Yian thought, wow, he is good at thinking on his feet. The patriarch asked, what about Riri and the twins? Iimuk replied, likewise for them. Yiran chimes, the situation is similar for her too. She thought, why is her father asking when he already knows everything about this matter? Yian was looking at them when she heard her name called. What? She is also included in this question? Patriarch asked in surprise, you're personally teaching Yian? Yes, replied Ikon. The patriarch cleared his throat and said, Master Ki, a famous scholar from Gyeongsong, followed esteemed Dr. Suk down here this time. Yian thought, this is why he asked? No one knew at first, but Master Ki was an incredibly distinguished person. To live comfortably in his old age, he came down here as a teacher, as to avoid getting involved in the political power struggle, but with such a reputation, before long, students from all over the nation flooded the school he opened for his leisure. And due to the environment that allowed for interactions between future civil officers, it transformed into a place where valuable interpersonal relationships could be formed. The patriarch said he heard Master Ki will be opening a school here. He believed it will be best to send the children there for instruction moving forward. What does everyone think? In her past life, even Master Ki did not keep many students. What was worse was that she never got an offer like this at that time. To her, this is a huge opportunity. The twins said in sync, taking class for 4 hours. Grandfather, we don't even have enough time for sword practice. That is such a waste of time. Grandfather replied, it'll only be 4 hours at the start, since Master Qi is well aware of the situation of a martial arts family. He will gradually reduce their lesson time accordingly to their progress. To a martial arts family, martial arts is of the utmost priority. However, if you're part of a well-renowned family like the powerful Baekri family, then martial arts are a given, and one must possess a certain level of mastery of the 6 arts. That does not mean you are expected to completely master them. Yian thought, maybe grandfather just wants them to know the basics. He probably does not want them to look like empty-headed martial artists who only know how to swing a sword. Grandfather asked, even if you study for 4 hours at school, aren't there still 20 hours left to train? That much is enough, and it isn't like you two are training all day long, are you? One twin said, of course, they train all day long. The other twin said, that's right, that's right. They never let go of their swords, not even for a second. Yian can't believe they are saying such blatant lies like that. Yiren tried to remedy the situation for her son. Father, you don't even know how hard Pyo and Ak are training. They are at the 3rd tier of the divine body martial arts. Diving body martial arts is a technique that only those of the Baekri family bloodline can master. Iimu congratulated. Pyo and Ak are close to the 3rd tier? How marvelous. Yiren, you must be so proud to have such brilliant sons. Both the twins posed conceitedly, taking in the praises. Yian gets that it gets astronomically harder to get to the next stage as one progresses. Even if one wields the sword the same way, the 1st tier is like cutting down branches. The 2nd tier is like cutting down trees, and the 5th tier is like cutting through stone. Iimuk asked, Father, isn't that truly incredible? For reference, grandfather, a 10th tier master, who has overcome the 9th tier, known as the Wailing Wall, is the one who raised the now powerful Baekri family to its highest achievement. And Yian's father is currently at the 8th tier, on the verge of the 9th tier. A heaven-sent genius who broke the all-time record set by grandfather when he was younger. Yiren spoke confidently, if for Ak and Pyo, at 7 years of age, break into the 3rd tier, they'll break Yi Kong's record as the youngest. Yian's face twitched. Although that dream, they failed to achieve in the past life. Grandfather cleared, since Pyo and Ak are too busy to attend, what does Myung think about the school? Myung answered, it is a good opportunity to be taught by such a great person. He would like to attend, however, he is worried about having the luxury to rest when Pyo and Ak are so devoted to martial arts. Wouldn't it be better for him to devote to martials as well? At this point, grandfather's patience is running thin. Riri, and you? Riri, who was too busy filling her stomach, confused, asked, about what? Grandfather is about to snap at this point, about the school. Do you want to go or not? Iimuk, father of Riri, was pleading in fear for Riri to say something correct for once. Of course, she didn't get the message. She asked, why would she go there? Can't grandfather just tell the teacher to homeschool? Yian screamed inwardly, incredible. So, this is the mindset one should have if she's the granddaughter of the powerful Baekri family. Seeing his father lost it, he beat his father to reprimanding his daughter. Riri, just what are you talking about? Did you hear anything grandfather said? Tears formed on her eyes and Riri asked why her father is angry. Grandfather fisted the table and in extreme anger, he roared. Nobody will go then. Shocked. What? Why? She wants to go. She wants to attend. Yian thought she would be able to live well and get a proper education this time around. But Yian prayed silently. Is this how far she'll get in this life? While still reprimanding, Yi Kong called, Father. What do you want? His father shouted, still angry. Yi Kong replied in a calmly manner. You didn't ask Yian. Yian's father's statement shocked all the adults in the room, even Yian herself. How ridiculous. Did Yi Kong really say that in this situation? Yiren said in contempt. Don't you see that father's angry? And what would Yian know? She is the same age as Riri. There is no reason to ask. Nervous, Yian asked who was the one getting angry. It seemed more like Aunt was angry, but she saw grandfather glaring at her. Grandfather was probably more angry from the other children and not her. His patient was just running thin from earlier. He asked, all right, fine. Yian, what do you think? Do you want to go to school or not? There is no need to lie. Yian sighed. Why is it that when it gets to her turn, things get so chaotic? Angry aunts, arguing twins, crying Riri and flaming grandfather. Yian asked her grandfather, "Don't you understand why you're angry?" The aunt snitched inwardly. What would a foolish little girl like her even know? At most, she will just whine about not wanting to go. Yian said, "It's not that Brother Ak and Pyo don't want to go, but rather they can't go, right?" Which surprised grandfather. "They can't go? What does that mean?" he asked. Yian replied, innocently, "Shouldn't they be going into isolation training?" The aunt stood up abruptly and roared, "Just what are you talking about? Isolation training refers to the merciless training method, where a person is confined alone in a cave to focus only on training. At the shortest, a month, at the longest, a couple years. There is no one to support you during that time. Even worse, the only thing that can be eaten is an awful-tasting preserved food called fasting pills. Will the twins be able to withstand isolation training?" Yian gleed cheerfully inside. "But, Aunt, I heard grandfather did isolation training when he achieved the 3rd tier," said Yian. "And I heard father did the same too. Aren't Brother Ak and Pyo going to do that as well?" she asked pretentiously. "I'm so jealous of you, brothers. Congratulations in advance as you're already close to reaching the 3rd tier." Yian congratulated with hidden meaning. The twins both called, "Hey, you don't even have a dantee on to you." Before they could finish, Yian's father sent a threatening glare to the twins and they instantly shut their mouth in fear. And asked, "What do you mean isolation training? Your father didn't do that." "Huh? Really?" Yian asked surprisingly, while her father still glaring at the boy with a message, "I'm watching you." Her father patted her head and said, "She is not wrong." He, too, went in for isolation training. However, he had no choice but to come out within 2 days as his mother was ill. Yian asked, "Oh, grandmother was sick?" "That's right," replied her father. "Grandfather seems like he is contemplating on something." Yian answered, she did not know about it. The aunt butted, "That's right, you were mistaken. So apologize to grandfather." And grandfather cut the aunt ear in and said cheerfully, "No, Yian is right. Now is not the time to be going to school. Go on and prepare for Pyo and Ak's isolation training." "Father," Yian called, while the twins hugged each other scared shitless. "Father, how can they do isolation training? We can't just feed them fasting pills when they're in their growth period." Yian reasoned. Father countered, he, too, did isolation training at that age. And her, as a mother, should be putting the children's futures first. Yian couldn't retort her father's word. Reaching a higher stage at young age is priceless. There is no easy way to attain that. Though it may be heard now, this is all just an investment for the future. Bekri Yian barely went past the 3rd tier when she was 12. While it was ordinary, next to her was Yian's father, under the limelight for his genius. After some thought, she told her twins, as their mother, she does not think it was that bad of an idea to go into isolation training. Before she could complete her message, the twins told their grandfather desperately they want to go to school. They told their grandfather they really want to go to school. Gosh, Yian could not believe these people. Grandfather has an all-or-nothing type of temperament. He'll send all of them as long as they all agree, or he'll send none of them at all. Yian sighed. She thinks she did a good job in averting the disaster with the topic. Her father put more food on her plate and told her to try them. She answered gleefully back, "Yes. She should eat some delicious dishes while she is here." She put the food in her mouth and momentarily shocked. Yian's father asked if it's good. She nodded fiery that it is so incredibly delicious. She picked one up to her father and told him to try too. It tasted delicious. Her father replied he had a lot already. Grandfather felt like a third wheel in a relationship. The father and daughter pair were showing their love to each other in perfect harmony, while the other side of the table were chaotic. Yian lecturing her twins. Riri did not stop crying no matter what Emuk said. Then the other side of the table, the harmonious side. Yian asked her father, "What's it made of?" Her father said he had no idea. She thinks it's watercress. Did they use a saltwater fish to make it? Her father replied, "If she want, you can go ask the cook." Grandfather was so upset that at the picture, he shouted, "Ikong, are you starving her? She is still only skin and bones." Father looked confused, while Yian spat out the food in her mouth. What is wrong with grandfather now?" Yian's father replied that it appeared The food today fits Yian's palate. Yian, trying to swallow her food, asked to herself, "Why is grandfather throwing a tantrum?" "That's right, grandfather. Everything is delicious." Yian readily agreed with her father. Hoping to calm down grandfather's anger, she told him he should try some as well, since it's good. "Humph. Bring it here. I need to get a taste, too, to see what's so delicious about it," said grandfather. "What? Really?" Yian looked at her father for consent. Her father nodded. She brought a plate full of food and walked up to her grandfather. "I only picked the ones I felt were the most delicious. If it's all right with you, please try them," she stated innocently. Grandfather felt touched but does not know how to fully express himself. "Ahem. Well, I was only going to try the meat patties, but you've prepared a full set." He took the plate off Yian's hand. Yian, stoned, not sure if she overstepped her boundaries. Grandfather, eating the food, commenting what is so delicious about it. "It tastes mediocre." But he finished them all so fast, surprising Yian. Yian was swaying while holding a plate. Grandfather told them to go back at once. Yian was confused. She went back to her seat, but grandfather said, not the table's seat, but to her residence. Yian's father told her they should go. Yian screamed inside, "But I haven't eaten my fill yet." She keeps screaming for food, her food, while her father held her and left the dining hall. A pile of school supplies was delivered to Yian. The maid told her father to let them know if there are anything lacking. The pile of school supplies looked a pile of glittering treasure to Yian. She observed each items one by one. With grandfather's all-or-nothing temperament, she guessed he would send them all to school, but she did not know he would go this far for all of them. Looking at the supplies, Yi Kong was smiling. His father must have put in a lot of care into this. Grandfather was sure that she, a child who does not even know how to write properly, but also have the teacher accommodate Yian's health. She was already thankful for the fact that he's even sending her to school. She thought she should give grandfather something in return. But what should she give him? She tried embroidery, but her embroidery skill was something else. Looking at the result of her embroiderer, she was not sure if it's a flower, butterfly, or rabbit. Her original intention was to embroider grandfather's name, but it suddenly became a cursed handkerchief. She was glad she didn't. But the current one is not so bad, right? After questioning it, she answered herself. She did great. But the real problem is, how should she deliver it to him? She rather believe a rabbit would jump out of the handkerchief than waiting for the residence's servants to help her. But that does not mean she want to personally visit grandfather either. Although it's true grandfather has been treating her well lately, it's not like he accepted her into the family. "Hello," Yian greeted the gate guard. The guard looked confused. She told the guard she left an item behind when she stayed at the White Protection Hall last time. May she go inside and look for it? She thought, if she cannot make others do it for her, and if she cannot give it to grandfather herself, then she has no choice but to secretly leave it in that room. The guard said he will show her in. If this was normal situation, he would have ignored Yian and tell her to wait until the patriarch returns, but the recent movement of the Beckery family has become strange due to the prominence of one child. Although Yian wasn't originally treated like one of the Beckery family's bloodline and was disregarded, according to the latest gossip about her, something does not sit right with the guard. The guard led Yian. He does not know when the patriarch, who went out this morning, will be back, and he feel uncomfortable just kicking Yian out. They approached the door and Yian asked the guard if she may look for the item by herself. It was sort of a secret item. "So," she said while blushing cutely. The guard chuckled. How big would the secret be for a child this small? He thought the sight of her was quite cute. The guard said he will be waiting right outside the room, so for her to go out as soon as she finds it. Yian readily agreed. She was distracted by how gorgeous and well-maintained the room is. She reminded herself that it is not the right time to be admiring the room. She glanced around for a place to leave the handkerchief, a place that is hard for the warriors stationed outside to notice when they look around the room, but also a place that can easily be seen by a servant cleaning the room. There is it. She looked towards the bed. Since blankets have to be hung periodically out in the sun, it won't be long before it's found. Good, good. She muttered happily while lifting the blanket and placing her gift. What's good? Grandfather asked while standing behind her, which startled Yian. Grandfather? The startled Yian instinctively turned around hurriedly, lost her balance, and slipped backward toward the edge of the bed. Grandfather caught her from bumping to the edge. He yelled nervously, "Why is she so surprised?" He was even more startled because of her. She said she thought he was a ghost. He replied, "Then is he supposed to walk around his own residence loudly? She was the rascal who came into his room like a thief, isn't she?" She realized she was in the wrong and bowed to apologize, which caught Grandfather off guard of her action. He cleared his throat and asked if she found her item. That. He saw the bag she was holding and asked what that is. Sighed. She can't do anything since she have been caught. She handed the handkerchief to Grandfather, telling him that she brought it to give to him. He leaned in closer to look. "For me?" "Yes," she replied. Grandfather opened the letter she had written along with the gift. She stood, nervously, hoping he could read her handwriting. She has been practicing hard since then. Grandfather asked if she embroidered it. She replied hurriedly, "Yes." "You didn't order the servants to do it?" he asked. "Grandfather, if this is the skill level of a servant, they'll get fire," Yian thought. She said, "I made it myself. Here, this is a rab," pointing her finger to show her grandfather, but she paused halfway. "Wait, it isn't a rabbit, it's..." She was supposed to say they are flowers and butterflies. But she kept calling it a rabbit, and now she just instinctively said rabbit. Grandfather waited anticipately for Yian to finish. She unconfidently said, the rabbit's quite cute, no?" "Oh, whatever, whether it's a rabbit or flowers and butterflies," she gave it to him, "so it's fine." Then, "Grandfather, I'll be on my way now." Grandfather told her to stop. She thought she failed to escape. Yian sat facing her grandfather and thought. She wanted to go home. "Yian," he called. "Yes, Grandfather," she replied. "Do you think Pyo and Ok will be able to surpass the 3rd tier this year?" Grandfather asked in a serious manner. What's his intention behind this question? Surely she hasn't been caught already. Yian replied, "How would she know? Firstly, didn't she bring up the isolation training as if she were waiting for it? Well, that's because Aunt..." Yian tried to gloss the answer, but Grandfather answered, "No, you knew. From the start, you knew Pyo and Ok wouldn't be able to overcome the 3rd tier. From observing her all these times, he knows she was an extremely bright child. She brought up the isolation training just to help him. Is he right?" Yian knew she's been caught. Any more lies at this point will make Grandfather angry. "No, everything you said is right. I just thought you wanted to send them to school. Will he think she is rude for insulting the direct descendants and hate her? Or, don't meddle from now on?" Grandfather ordered. "Yes," she answered and apologized. Grandfather felt she didn't understand his message. He elaborated, "What will Pyo and Ok think of her now since she meddled like that? They'll believe that she intentionally set them up? How would she think they'll act towards her from now on? She haven't mastered martial arts, and on top of that, she is also sick. What does she think it'll be like if the twins are determined to torment her? She doesn't have a mother, let alone her biological grandmother in the house. Even if her father pays extra attention, he will not be able to intervene in a children's fight all the time." Grandfather continued on with his lecture. It's not like her father can stay at home with her forever, and don't think he will stand by her side for something like this either. It finally clicked to Yian that this is Grandfather's concern for her? She is not sure, but she is going to take a step further. "But, Grandfather, what if they pick fights with me even if I don't want to?" Surprised, he asked, "What are you talking about?" "Brother Pyo and Ok said that I'm a waste, trash that can't even practice martial arts." Grandfather's eyes widened. "They said such things?" "Yes," she answered. "That day before you arrived, when Father had momentarily stepped away. Grandfather finally heard her confession that such things happened. How dare they say such vulgar words?" He shouted angrily. Just how is ear in raising her children? He fisted the table angrily. He asked if she just let it be without telling her father. She answered disappointingly, "Yes, because it's a fight amongst children." Shocked, he looked as if he has been taught a life lesson. "Grandfather, if I don't fight with them even after hearing that, and if my health was to improve later, will I have the right to wield the sword? I want to be able to stand proud." Grandfather can see his son, Yi Kong's shadow behind Yian. Confidence that doesn't falter against all odds, she knew it well. That this is the best attitude a martial artist can have. Her words may only seem like scheme, as they carry no weight right now. However, that is her honest truth. Stars glistened in the night sky. Kong was being led by two maidservants. One held a lamp leading the way. Patriarch, the third young master is here, announced the maidservant. Let him in, instructed the patriarch. Yin? Her father was surprised to see her sleeping on the patriarch's bed. Kong's father told him not to be surprised. She came to his place first. Yin did? He asked, unconvinced. Then, are you saying I forcefully dragged her here? Not at all. It's just that I don't understand why Yun came to see you, father. Kong answered. Grandfather said pridefully, she's better than her father. Pardon? Kong is confused. Grandfather took out a handkerchief from his sleeve. Isn't that what Yun made? Asked Kong. That's right. His father replied happily. She's quite good with her hands. He started bragging. I was at a loss for words. This is my first time seeing someone embroider a rabbit for a martial artist. Ahem. Well, it can't be helped. Pardon? Isn't it flowers and butterflies? Asked Kong. Disagreed with Kong, his father retorted. What are you talking about? Look, it's a rabbit, isn't it? Kong can only agree. You're right. She planned on secretly placing it here to express her gratitude for sending her to school. Although he sent all 5 grandchildren to school, there is only one who is truly grateful for that. Annoyed at Kong's personality, father said, that's why they should eat together. He has less of an appetite now that he's older, but seeing her eat makes him want to eat too. Kong replied contently, he is glad to hear that. His father was waiting for more from him. Is that it? His father asked. Pardon? Kong did not get the message. His father thought, what a frustrating rascal. If it was his other children, Ren would beg for him to look at her children, how amazing they are. If it was Mook, he would show off his children ability and bragged about it to him. They would do anything to show off their children to attract his attention, but glancing at his son who was so clueless. He concluded that this is not something Kong made Yin do it. Yin did this of her own free will. He felt happy of her sincerity and instructed Kong to make sure she continues embroidering. Kong replied, she's a child who will wield a sword. Earlier in the evening, grandfather asked Yin one thing. Does she know anything about her mother? Yin, who was dozing off during meal, thought. She can't keep herself from falling asleep in a child's body. Half awake, she replied, she does not know. He, her father, didn't say anything. Feeling more drowsy, Yin laughed. Am I a fool? How could I not know that mother abandoned me? She rubbed her eyes and thought, she can't do this anymore, and her head fell forward onto the food plate. But grandfather's large hand caught her face from hitting the plate. Kong carried Yin and bid good night to his father. Since this is the path you chose, I hope you have no regrets. Kong's father muttered, while watching him leave with the sleepy Yin. A few days later, Yin, all warmly dolled up, can't believe she is already attending school. Yin guiltily scratched her cheek. Her health has improved to the point that it's such a shame she can only take the first class. It should be fine for her to sit and listen to classes. But she had flashback of her father and grandfather nagging her not to overdo it. She should just focus on getting treated. She can only attend for self-introduction on the first day. While walking, she heard children shouting, "What are you doing?" Glancing over, she saw the twins and some other boys looking up the tree. One of the twins used a stick and poking it up the tree. Ugh, I missed it, exclaimed the twin boy. Yin thought they were demonstrating swordsmanship until she noticed a white bird flying above its nest. The other boys shouted for him to do better. Yin knew they were up to no good and continued on. At the gate, her father's manservant, Yin-Du, greeted her and asked how class was. Yin replied, they only introduced themselves today. Yin-Du said, it was only the first day. Then shall they be on their way? Yin-Du led Yin, but noticed she had not taken a step. He turned around and saw Yin undoing her hair ribbon. Yin-Du leaned down, so Yin can instruct him. She whispered something to his ears and gave him her hair ribbon. After listening, Yin-Du told her that it is not a difficult request. He took the hair ribbon from her hand and went to talk to his school staff. Yin was watching from afar, not sure if her scheme will succeed. She can see them conversing. If she knew this would happen, she would have adorned herself with some jewelry. She did not because she heard the teacher does not like extravagance. That was why she purposely dressed plainly, but she was hoping the hairband can bribe the staff. Fortunately, it worked. The staff walked to where the boys were and announced for them to go in. The teacher will be there soon. The boys were all disappointed, but they left. S1-2 ran back and reported that he did just as Yian instructed. But what is going on? Yian pointed up to the bird nest. Baby birds were still there chirping. She was relieved. She had acted soon enough. Satisfied, she told S1-2 they can go now. Just as they were about to leave, S1-2, who was closest to the tree, heard something and alerted Yian to stop. They saw a baby bird who had fallen from the nest on the ground chirping. It was lucky to fall on those bushes. He reached to grab the bird, but Yian stopped him. With a cloth, she scooped the bird onto the cloth. She heard that baby animals should not smell like humans. She is worried the handkerchief might not be enough. But she asked S1-2 if they can get it back into the nest. S1-2 crossed his arms and contemplated. It's been 5 years since he last climbed a tree. But why not? He should give it a try. There is no use. Someone said. It was a boy in gold silken robe embroidered with a willow tree branch design. He asked if they were surprised, and that he is sorry. A light blue jade pendant, decorated with sapphire beads. It was obvious he's a child of an esteemed position. Why is it useless? Asked Yian. The boy said the wing is broken here, pointing to the broken area on the bird. Yian finally noticed. For a baby bird to have a broken wing, the boy guessed the bird will die. She understood. The fact that the parents didn't do anything even when the baby bird fell meant that they have also given up on it, this bird's life. She felt pity for the bird. Why did you do that? Asked the boy. What? She replied. You sent the others in early by having the servant call them in. He explained. After giving the servant your ribbon, Yian thought he was watching the whole time and did not intervene. He asked if there was reason for her to do all that. Couldn't she just stop them? Isn't she the Baekri family's twins' cousin? Yian tried to maintain a straight face, thinking of how the twins would react. She nearly frowned just the thought of it. Even so, it doesn't mean she have to share every little details of her family's affairs to a child she just met. She replied, her cousin have a competitive spirit, so if she had stopped them, they would have gone after the birds even more. Competitive spirit? The boys laughed and kept laughing, while holding his stomach due to excessive laughing. Yian didn't understand why he was laughing. She told S1-2 they should go now. Holding back his laughs and tears, he asked, leaving already? Keeping a straight face, Yian thought, who was he to hold her back? S1-2 asked, what about the bird? Yian told him to put it back down in the bushes. After all, even if they place it back in its nest, it will die anyways. There was no other choice. She thought, looking so sad, thinking of her own abandonment. If she needlessly touched the nest, the parents may give up on the other baby birds altogether. Even if she were to care for the bird, it was already hard enough for the Baekri family to care for her. The boy said he can treat it, the broken wings. Yian finally looked at the boy. He was happy he finally get her to look at him. Our introductions are a bit late, aren't they? My name is Suk-Yak. I am a distant relative of the esteemed Dr. Suk, who came here recently. Sturdy, tall, decorative building. Peonies blooms along the walkway. Yian thought, is being an esteemed doctor really such a lucrative occupation? Along the walk, she was mesmerized. Suk-Yak noticed how she paid attention to the flowers. He guessed she likes peonies. She said because it was her first time seeing this color. The peonies in the Baekri family gardens are mostly white. Suk-Yak replied, the Baekri family's gardens are well known for their beauty. If she wants, he will pick some for her before she leaves. Yian refused. He does not have to go so far as to do that. Just why is this child being so hospitable? She thought. She can't tell what he is thinking. If he is looking for a connection, going to the twins would be a better choice. Suddenly her eyes widened. She asked Suk-Yak, by chance, is my father here? He looked surprised, but quickly denied and asked what's the matter? Yian thought she saw her father, but she cannot tell because the sight was too far away. After a little time of trying to see, she finally said, it's nothing. She must have been mistaken. Is that so? Suk-Yak replied. He pointed to a building and told Yian that it's the residence he is staying in. There is a receiving room for guests, which is why. He have some delicious tea. Yin smiled happily but thought to herself, how could he be so sure her father is not here, when the two of them have just arrived at the villa? The little bird laid on a makeshift pillow nest, wrapped in gauze cloth. Sukjiayak told Yin, he set the wing for now. They will have to wait and see what happens next. Well, even if it can use its wings, it can't be returned to its nest after sitting on a human hand. He added. Yin said she is counting on him. Sukjiayak had observed Yin for some times now. He saw how bad she wanted it best for the bird, but unable to take care of it. He saw pity in her eyes. He asked, why won't she raise it? This question brought back painful memories. All of the animals she raised in the past died every time, all due to the twins' mistake, or for no reason. Yin replied, she knows he studied medicine, but it's hard for her to even care for herself, so how can someone like her take care of sick bird? In that state, how can she? Sukjiayak replied elatedly, but there is no way the powerful Bekri family has shortage of servants, is there? If you can't personally raise it, you can just have a servant raise it, can't you? The flamboyant image was just something Yin was imaging of what he might say, after saying she can't take care of the bird despite being in a powerful Bekri family. She thought she was seeing things. Sukjiayak, trying to contain his laugh, could not hold it anymore and burst out laughing. Her expression, to him, was too funny. He said, she does not need to lie. Did you ask despite knowing? She thought. She shook her head. No. It would be a relief if you did know, since it means that she don't have to go out of her way to put on an appearance. She finally put out the truth. They said it's best to show the household flaws to outsiders, especially considering it's my first time meeting you. If he is a clever child, he will know what she really means. It means stop prying. Sukjiayak finally stopped laughing and said, for some reason, he get the feeling that they will be good friends. Surprised, Yin just didn't know what the hell is wrong with him. A carriage strolling on the road. Inside, Yin asked if the gift box is heavy. He can carry it for her. Yin seemed exhausted, yawned and said, she is fine. Earlier, Sukjiayak gave her the peonies to celebrate the start of their friendship. In the end, she ended up receiving some peonies. Sukjiayak, she never encountered in her past life. And he, a child who was never mentioned in the novel. It is suspicious, but she does not think he is a bad child. He was kind enough to put the peonies in the box to prevent them from getting damaged. She smiled as she thought of how to use the flowers. First, she wants to use one to decorate her father's study. Then, she'll put one in her room. And last, she will dry one to make an incense pouch. Yin suddenly had a comical thought of grandfather reaction, stern but blushing at the same time. Ahem. Well, what would a martial artist like myself use an incense pouch for? Who said I wouldn't accept it? Just leave it here for now. She could not hold in her laughter just thinking about it. Yin finally arrived home. Just when Yin was helping her to get down from the carriage, they can hear some commotions. I told you no. But there you go again. Another voice asked to please check it properly. The guard replied frustratedly, gosh. There is no use even if I check. You're so persistent. The other person questioned, is this how the Bekri family welcomes guests? A guard said, what guest? You're just bum who can't even prove your identity? The other guard added, why don't you leave while we're still talking nicely? Can't you just get lost before we have to drag you away? The guard ordered. The guest, wearing unorthodox black clothing with a black veil hat, dared them to if they can. Let's try, he threatened, sending a death glare through the veil gap. Yin's jaw dropped. Why is Namgung here? The next patriarch of the Namgung family, one of the top 10 most powerful families. He is the biological father of the male protagonist of the novel, Namgung Ryucheng, as well as Yin's father's close friend. And he is someone who contributed to Yin's father's death. She only know that much. I want to know what exactly he did. That darn unhelpful novel. Yin complained inwardly. But why is such an incredible person standing there like this? Yin approached the gate. I came here because of the noise. What's going on? I will offer my assistance if I can. The guest, Namgung, turned around and asked, and you are? At this point, she was not supposed to know who Namgung is. So she introduced herself as if she met him for the first time. She bowed elegantly. Greetings. I am Bekri Yin of the Bekri family. Yes, I am the daughter of your friend Mr. She thought. The guard replied, "This is nothing you need to be concerned about, young miss." The other guard shouted at Nam Gungwan, "You're still not going to get lost? Wow, look how haughty he is since this is his home turf." Yin thought. S1-2 screamed at the gate guards, "You rascals. This person is." He suddenly was threatened by a sound transmission. "Keep your mouth shut." Nam Gungwan cleared his throat and showed Yin his invitation. "I have an invitation, but these heartless bastards just won't let me in." A guard countered, "How can we blindly trust that and let you in?" Nam Gungwan replied, "That's why I've been telling you to check the letter." The other guard answered, "We can't let you in without an identity plaque." S1-2 felt so frustrated, he was about to pull his hairs off. Yin glanced at S1-2. It seems he used sound transmission to prevent S1-2 from speaking. Does he really not want his identity revealed? Yin asked to see the letter. Very well, Namgung handed the invitation letter to her. She started to open the letter. This is a problem that can be solved simply by calling father over, but with how stubborn they're being, this isn't just the gatekeeper's personal issue. She looked at the letter. As expected, it's her father's handwriting, a brief invitation with an anonymous recipient. However, father's seal is properly stamped on it. Yin rolled the invitation and said, "This is father's penmanship and seal. Let's go in." Namgung Wan, holding back his laughter, thought, "This little bean acts just like her father." The guards refused entry. Yin sighed, as expected. The guard said, "There is no room in the reception hall right now." Huh? What? Dear? What kind of nonsense is this? The third young master is out, so we cannot bring this man to his residence either, said one of the guards. S1-2 asked, "The young master is out? But he didn't say anything to me?" Yin had a flashback at the school when she asked Sukjie Yak if her father was here, and he denied. S1-2 whispered to Yin, "Young miss, I'll go inside and check." Yin, "Oh sure. Ask if anyone knows where father went to." Truthfully, she does not care about this level of insult, but if her father's destination is the esteemed Dr. Suk's home. Sukjie Yak image appeared and she asked why does she have such a dubious feeling? Namgung told Yin to go in too. Since Kong is out, he'll wait alone. Yin replied, she will wait with him too. After all, her father's guest is also her guest. While waiting, Yin wondered, at this point in the novel, had Namgung ever been here? Is it because he came here while hiding his identity that I didn't even know this happened? Yin felt like there is something else she is forgetting. Suddenly, Namgung asked, "What's that?" Surprising Yin. She opened the box and 3 pink peonies laid neatly in the box. "They're flowers I got from a child I met today. I got them to place one in father's study, one in my room, and to dry the last one and make an incense pouch." She explained cheerfully, looking forward to it. "Incense pouch?" Namgung asked. "Yes," she replied excitingly. "It's father's birthday soon, but there won't be a celebration since he's busy because of me, and I heard he's going to reject all the presents, too. So I wanted to at least prepare something for him." Yin spoke pridefully. Namgung blushed and thought to himself, maybe it'll be good to have a daughter next. It suddenly dawned on Yin that the reason why Namgung came was because of her father's birthday, and it just happened to be to give her father a present, but her father rejected it. The fight developed due to his feelings being hurt because of her father's stubborn refusal. Who knows, maybe that was the cause of her father's death. Yin tried to speak cutely. "Mister, you said you were father's friend, right?" Namgung thought, "What's this suddenly?" "That's right," he replied. Yin frantically searched for reasons to say, what should she say to stop them from fighting? "Since your arrival here is like fate." Yun's frozen expression, yet melting face continued, "You'll get father a present, right?" She was worrying too much that her expression became awkward. "Ah ha ha ha." Namgung bursted laughing. He laughed so hard to the point he's about to cough to his death. Yin stood frozen, not sure what to do. What's wrong with him all of a sudden? Did she do something wrong? Her eyes quivered, not sure what to do. Finally, Namgung was able to mutter, "For as long as I've lived, I never thought there'd be a day I'd meet a thief in front of the Bekri family's main gate." Please leave a comment of 3 words or more for the next part. Like, share, and subscribe to help support this channel for more contents and faster release.